Hey y'all, so I just left an interview at Christ Fellowship Church for the children's worship ministry. Now, let me tell you guys about this. So, I attend Christ Fellowship Church. It was God that brought me back there, but I don't know if I'm at the right location. I don't know if I should be at the other location, which I used to go to a very long time ago. I always felt like ever since I stepped foot in this location that I'm at now, I always felt like the spirit was just different from the other location. And I kept having issues with this location. It was just always something. And it's almost similar today. It's almost similar, like in the current time. It's just always something with this location. Like maybe I shouldn't be there. So this time I'm back there. God has led me there. Since I've been there, He's been breathing life back into me. He's been reviving me. He's just been blessing me since I've been back there. There has been a few hiccups, a few little things, but overall, He's really showing me that I don't care where you are. I will no longer allow a place or people to reject you. Excuse me. He's showing me that I'm going to bless you regardless. He's really, really, really showing me that I'm in that season. So, let me tell you guys about this location. So, one night when I went to a class that they have called Celebrate Recovery. Celebrate Recovery at Christ Fellowship is on Tuesday nights. And they have the children's class on Tuesday nights as well. So one night I took my 7-year-old to his class, and the teacher, she said we exchanged a couple words, and I told her how I'm going to audition for the worship team. Now this is her. She's like, "Oh, you should come do kids worship. You should join kids worship. You should do kids worship." And I was like, "Well, I want to join the worship team, the adult worship team." She was like, "Yeah, but you should do kids worship. You should do kids worship." She was very adamant about it, right? So this is my only thing. Right? Actually, let me backtrack a little bit. So I was going to meet up with her to interview for the kids worship, to be like one of the leaders over the kids worship. I guess this is me being in the children's ministry, because I do have 3 children. I literally have the heart of a child, even though life has literally flipped me upside down and turned me inside out, and thrown me every which way. So I was supposed to meet up with her. This was, I think, 2 months ago now. I was supposed to meet up with her. Our schedules kept conflicting each other, or whatever the word is. And then I broke my arm, fractured my arm, and I really could not join a children's ministry. So my arm has now healed. My arm is still healing pretty well. My arm has now healed. And it was just time. It was time. So we scheduled the interview for today. I went to do the interview with her today, her and the other girl from the children's ministry. And I openly, transparently shared my testimony with them because that's what she asked. She wanted to get to know me, and I shared my testimony because this is me. With my testimony, I'm very transparent. I'm very open with it. That's just who I am. That's how I am. Wherever I'm meant to be, that place is going to accept me, and I'm going to be there. You know, I'm not an addict, not on drugs, never been on drugs. My life has honestly been pretty boring compared to a lot of other people's lives. So, anyway, she tells me after the interview that she feels like I think she said from her spirit. I don't know if she said this is coming from her, but she feels like I just need to continue being poured into. She doesn't feel like serving. It's for me right now. Sweetheart, and I told them this. I said, whether I serve here in this church or whether I serve somewhere else, that's who I am. I serve. I do ministry. Like, in my everyday life, it's ministry. Not necessarily hard down preaching in the streets and everything, but that's just who I am. That's just how God uses me, you know? Now, I do agree with her. I'm in a season of rest, but I still have to be active. I still have to be a part of things. Like, I can't just not do anything. And I do want to be active at the church, right? So, yeah, she tells me that she feels like, and she was very gentle about it, very sweet, you know, everything. But she tells me that she feels like I just need to continue being poured into. She doesn't feel like serving right now. Like, you know, it's serving it there. It's for me. Now, this is my severe aggravation. This is my severe aggravation. And I didn't waste my breath telling her and the other girl that. I just didn't. For what? What's the point? My severe aggravation is, why go above and beyond and over the top of the hills to try to recruit me for the children's ministry? Just to tell me, oh, well, I don't think so. You didn't know me when you tried to recruit me. You saw that I had children then. I had those children with somebody. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot I can say. And I don't think the questions on that application, because I did a quick application before we started doing the verbal interview. I don't think those questions are NDA, non-disclosure or whatever you call it, because it just talked about the application just talked about like really being what you portray, really living that out. And that's who I am. If there's anyone who really, really, really is about what they talk about, it's me. Because I'm also going to share with you guys a horrible, horrible story I have of something that happened to my feels like my baby is 12 today, but when she was 2 years old, I have a very horrible story of something that happened to her at Christ Fellowship Church. So whoever this lady is, that whoever that lady and that man is that they hired at that time, or that they had working in children's ministry with those babies, they were not get good for those kids, because my baby got hurt and they lied to me about it. And I'm going to tell y'all that in the next clip. But anyway, yeah, that's my frustration. I'm just like, so I tell you that I have an ex-husband. He's very toxic, very manipulative. It's actually stressful for me even having him in my life. Honestly, it's stressful. It's stressful for me co-parenting with him because he's like very snakish. He is a snake. But I just openly shared my testimony. I'm talking about the miracles that God is doing for me, that God has done for me, how good God is to me and my children, how God is providing for us. I'm just talking about all of that, right? And you tell me that you don't feel like I'm ready for children's ministry. Girl, I have 3 kids. My life is children. It just aggravated me. It honestly aggravated me. But I do agree with her that I need to be poured into, because I do agree that this is my season. This is my season to be poured into, not so much of pouring into others, because I have poured into the world. I don't have a close relationship with my mother and my blood relatives, but other people, I've poured my all into people. And I do notice that Father Yah has not been using me. He hasn't been using me as much in this season. And when I say season, I guess I should give a time period. So let's say since I got back from Texas last year. So since last September, I would say he hasn't really been using me so much like that to like preach and like do certain aspects of ministry. So this video isn't to bash, this video really is not to bash Christ Fellowship. I'm not trying to bash the woman who did my interview. It was aggravating to me. It was aggravating to me to hear, oh, well, I think you should just continue being poured into. After hearing my testimony about my ex-husband, which I think that's what did it for her. It aggravated me. That aggravates me, that part, because it's like, my youngest child is 7. As long as this man is walking this earth, as long as he's alive, he's just gonna be like some part of my life or whatever, until God says, okay, I'm permanently removing him from your life, because God has said he's going to do that. I don't know how he's going to do it, but it's going to happen. So yeah, that just aggravated me, but I give God all the praise. I worship him. I honor him. I adore him. Whatever he has for me, that is for me. Where God wants me to be, I'm going to be there. And there's not going to be anything that can stop me from being there. There's not going to be anything that can stand in the way. There's not going to be anything that can stop what he has for me, what he has for you. What God has for you is for you. Nobody can take that from you. Nobody. And I also wanted to say, I've been considering for about a month. I've been considering switching over to Life Church. I've never been there. I think I'm going to try it out. But I've been considering switching to Life Church. I hear that it's a little smaller. Anyone that knows Christ Fellowship or knows about Christ Fellowship, you will know that Christ Fellowship is so big. It is really, really big. And I just don't know. Like, I go there every Sunday. I go every Tuesday. I want to try to start back taking my children every Wednesday. But I don't know, like, I'm just praying about it. I'm praying about it. Especially after this incident, like being blocked from joining a ministry, or joining from being blocked from being active in the church. I just don't. I just don't know if this is the church for me. I don't know. I mean, I've tried and tried and tried. Like, it's aggravating. It is. So, yeah, now I'm going to tell you guys about the incident with my daughter. So when my daughter was 2 years old, I used to take my children to Christ Fellowship all the time. Now this incident is 9 years ago. And it's crazy. It's crazy to even say 9 years ago, because that thing was so fresh in my mind. It was so fresh in my soul. Because anything that happens with your children, when you're a good mother that loves your kids, a good parent that loves your children, like you almost blame yourself when something bad happens to them, even if it had nothing to do with you. So when my daughter was 2 years old, I used to take her and my other daughter. This is many years before I had my son. We would always go to Christ Fellowship, the three of us. Now, I was married, but my marriage was a nightmare. It was very toxic, and that wore down on me. So my ex-husband, he never used to go to church with us. And I wasn't going to force him. I wasn't going to beg him. So this one particular Sunday, excuse me, y'all. This one particular Sunday, my ex-husband decided to go to church with us, right? We take my 2-year-old to baby church, children's church, and we took my then 4-year-old. We took her to children's church. We went to pick them up, and it's crazy because this was the one Sunday that he went with us, and he never used to go with us, and I stopped going there after that. That Sunday was my last day at that church for 4 or 5 years. And then I went back. God told me to go back to show him that I had forgiven them. That I had released this off of my heart. Now, since then, I have forgiven Christ Fellowship Church. I just want to specify this. I don't know. Since then, I've forgiven them. But this is a part of my testimony. Everything that happens in your life, every situation, it's a part of your journey. It's a part of your testimony. So we went to pick my baby up, and she was saying fingers, 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 but her speech wasn't that good. And she was saying, finger, mommy, finger, finger, finger. So her three fingers were smashed. They had been smashed to the point where 2 of the fingers, the skin was ripped on 2 of the fingers. So like at the cuticle, the skin was smashed. On the skin was smashed. And the 3rd finger, her fingers had just been smashed in the door, right? So I'm young. At this time, my baby's 2. She was born in 2012. So I was like 23. I was 22, 23. The teacher, this is one of their volunteers. There was a man and a woman in the class that day. And I'm going to be honest with y'all. That lady looked like she was a drunk or something. Like she just had like a really scruffy look about her. And the man, he didn't look no better. But I got turned down today. So anyway, the lady, she was kind of frantic. Like she was trying to rush me off. And my ex-husband, I understand now that some people, they can't really react, because if they do, it would be bad. And he was so like, almost like just he I felt like he was careless, but he was really nonchalant about it. It's like he was upset, but he didn't show it. He was just really, really like, he didn't even respond. And I'm looking at my ex-husband. I'm like, do you see her fingers? Blah, 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 blah. And I'm just like, her fingers have been smashed. And I'm trying to ask the lady, what happened? What's going on? Blah, blah, blah. The lady told me, oh, it's a paper cut. It's a paper cut. No, it's just a paper cut. So she's literally shooing me away. She's trying to tell me to leave. And so I don't know what happened. To this day, that bothered me for many years. It did. It bothered me for many years. I don't know what, and I'm trying not to cuss right now. I don't know what happened to my baby. But that man or that woman, since then, when they took my baby to the bathroom, something happened and her fingers got smashed in the bathroom door. And also, one thing that also bothered me about that day, at Christ Fellowship Church, when I picked her up from the baby class, is I think her stockings were missing or something. And I kept asking myself, I was like, did I send her to church with stockings? I could not remember, because I always used to put stockings on my girls. And so then we went to the front, the sign out area at the front. I told them what happened. They had one of their church doctors come over. They looked at her fingers. They bandaged her fingers, or I don't know if they put band-aids or not. But they apologized, and that was that. Now, my baby's fingers were smashed so bad that eventually her fingernail came off. The whole fingernail came off. Because I guess when you have a bad injury to your nail, your toenails or your fingernails, the nail comes off, right? So 3 of the fingers were smashed really bad. I'm sure the 4th finger got smashed, but the skin wasn't broken as much. So one of the fingernails eventually got old and came off, and then a new nail grew, right? And this bothered me. This bothered me for so long. It bothered me for so long. I never got anything from that church. Nothing except from that day when they were like, oh yeah, we're sorry. So I don't even know if they fired that lady, the lady and the man who were over the kids' class that day. Because I was so young. If that was me now, sweetheart, there's a lot I could say. If that was me now, I would not have stopped until they were not working there anymore, or until they weren't volunteering over the kiddie class anymore. But I was so young. Times were so different then. So I remember calling the church. I remember calling Christ Fellowship Church, and I tried to set up a meeting with the lady who was over the class that day and the man, or one or the other, because I really wanted to see them face to face. I wanted a meeting. And I really wanted to know what happened. I'm not here to fight you. I'm not here to yell at you, because I'm not that kind of person. If I ain't scream and fight that day when I picked my baby up from class and her fingers were smashed and the lady's telling me, oh, it's just a paper cut, then I'm just not that kind of person. It literally takes hell and high water to get me to the point where I'm screaming and yelling, and I hate to get to that point. So I remember one day I called the church, and one of the guys that I spoke with, he was like, what is it? What is it that you want? Like, blah, 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 blah. And that was very insensitive to me. But I ended up telling him, I was like, I just want to see this lady face to face. I want a meeting. I want to know what happened with my baby. What did she do to my baby? What did they do to my baby? what happened. So I never got a meeting. And that was that. Then I ended up going back 5 years later, during a 40-day 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. fast. God instructed me to go back to Christ Fellowship. I went back. I actually auditioned at that time for the adult worship team. Because it's really a business, y'all. It is a heavy, heavy, heavy business. You have to audition for the worship team. One of my friends, she has auditioned this year. She said when you audition for the worship team, then you go through a very long process of, I guess, their training. I don't know. No matter how good you sing or worship, or how deep you are into worship, you just have to go through their process. And I'm like, once again, I'm not bashing Christ Fellowship Church. I'm just telling it how it is, because that's the kind of person I am. So, and I'm not saying anything bad, nothing bad at all. So, when I went back to Christ Fellowship after the incident with my baby, I auditioned for the worship team, and I also went to Sunday service. I sold an offering, or I paid an offering or whatever. I enjoyed worship, and I just let it go. I just gave God praise, and I thanked him. I just thanked him for being God. At that time, and this was 2000, this was 2020. This was 2020 when I went back. So I auditioned for the worship team then. I did the first part of the audition. I sent in my audition virtually, because I think this was like around COVID. So I sent in my audition virtually. I think that's how you audition in general. And then there's a process. I told y'all, like, there's a lot of steps. There's a process. So then after you audition in your own pitch, then they send you a song or their songs or something to audition in just alto pitch, because they want to make sure that you can blend in with the other worshipers, with the group. So I never fully went through the process, and I stopped going to the church again, and I just went back to Christ Fellowship this year. Now here we are 4 years later. It was God that brought me back there. As of now, I don't know why the heck I'm there. But one thing that I can say is God has been using Christ Fellowship God has been using the worship. That's the only thing. The worship service to revive me, to breathe life back into me. And I even have an extensive testimony about that. But so far this is pretty much it, and this is my journey with them. It's beautiful. It really is beautiful, and it's been beautiful. Regardless of what I feel like is frustrating about the process, it's beautiful, because God has been doing so many beautiful things in my life. He's been doing so much for me. I have my own apartment now. I am no longer trapped living with my ex-husband, and God is so good. And I even did a video about that, but that video didn't post. Did I try to post it? I don't know. That's when my arm was broken and in bad shape. You see my arm's doing good now. But yeah, so I just want to say God is good. He's so good, and everything that I post, it's a part of my testimony. It's a part of the journey, and I just thank him for his goodness, for his mercy. And they recommended that I do the Freedom course, which is an amazing course at Christ Fellowship. So I went back. So I'm gonna do the freedom course. And I'm excited about it. I am very, very excited about it. What else? Y'all, I'm sitting in this car with no AC. I'm getting hot. So the lady also recommended that she feels like I should do the freedom course before I try to join the worship team for children. So this is the children's worship team that she tried initially. She recruited me for, and then turned me down today. So I'm gonna do the freedom course. I'm very excited about it. But I don't know. And this lady that turned me down today, she's moving in 2 weeks, so she's not even going to be at that church anymore. But I'm sure she's going to still be heavily affiliated with it. But she's just not going to be at that location. So yeah, anyway, like I said, y'all, I'm excited about this journey, and I know God he's going to continue doing so many beautiful things. And just leading me and guiding me and walking with me along this journey. And I just thank him. I just really do thank him. All right, y'all, be blessed. Love you guys.